frothing great tankard of grog when you live to tell the tale. For all that, you'll need the right equipment. You can start by taking this old shovel.
I do love a shovel. I just realized that my microphone has been muted this entire time, which is awkward. So I'll try and catch y'all up a little bit.
I stowed a few belongings around here back in the day. The map will show you the way.
Yeah, my name is Aravis. I do a bunch of gameplay and games around like naval stuff in space, on water, anything that involves boats and smashing them together. I've played a little bit of Sea of Thieves before, but this is my first time on this character, a new character. Putting together sort of a fresh start on this game, also to kind of re-experience the early game, because it's very interesting with a bunch of cool like story and neat settings for the Maiden Voyage, just sort of like a structured early game experience, or version of the experience. Yeah, so let's go ahead and find this treasure. There's a lot, especially in the early game, a lot of like digging up treasures, and never not something you really stop doing in this game, which makes sense, it's a pirate game after all. What's more piratey than X marks the spot? Oh, let's see here, 1 second. I need to check my settings and make sure everything is working correctly. That's the problem with this, is I'm still trying to feel out and sort of practice with my tools. Also a little stressful, like doing it all on your own. As I was saying before, I forgot to turn my microphone on. I've done live stream stuff for people before, in other contexts, but I've never done my own. At least not on anything resembling like Twitch or something a little bit more public. Let's see, quest map. So one thing I like to do when doing a bunch of these early quests, you can see there are flowers on the map. These little red spots here kind of scattered around. Those are actually ferns for the most part. They usually end up looking like ferns. You can kind of use these to orientate, especially if you combine them with your compass. It's incredibly useful early on when you're trying to understand the islands and know where things tend to be. Because there are definitely places where things tend to be buried. And over time, you begin to figure it out. Like that. Behold, old sailor's chest. Alright. Let's take a look at that. Sound is so cool. Now, I was saying early on in the intro that one thing I enjoy about Sea of Thieves in terms of its tutorials, it starts you off on a fairly narrow sort of microcosm of the game as a whole, and emphasizes like the exploration and a lot of the art style that they play around with. So you get a nice taste of the game before you have to deal with other players and all of the drama that goes with that. Well, let's see, do I need to hand it to him? But it's also been a while since I've done the tutorial, so...
Ah, my old chest. Let's see if she still hides her secrets.
I mean, there's a lot of holes there, my guy. Okay. Ah, yes, the old sailor's equipment. Yeah, so at its core, Sea of Thieves is ultimately a cosmetics game. There's very little in the game that gives you actual mechanical advantage.
She'll serve you well out there.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, as I was saying before, everything in the game is built around this radial system, which I suspect comes from the fact that this game was originally designed for Xbox and also PC, but, you know, mainly consoles. You can sort of hotkey bind these, so you can see here they've got hotkeys listed around the outside edge. But the main intended way is to use the radial menu. I like to hotkey some things, so we'll be setting all that up as we go along too. Mic too quiet, game too loud. Thank you, Steph. Welcome. I appreciate the help. Game too loud. I will bump game down. It seems like all my sound settings got reset on me. Alright, and so for Mike... For Mike, I'm not sure. I'll have to see if I can bump that a little bit on the hardware side. It'll take me a minute to get everything set up here. Yeah, that's a good idea. I can probably just turn the game down a bit and see where that lands us. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I was saying in the intro, like I've run streaming stuff before, but it was always on sort of the back end. So any advice or help? Oh, I see. Okay, turn it down to 50% because the game was too loud, which made me too quiet. Yep, so I went ahead and turned it down in OBS side. We'll see if that does the trick, or if I made it too quiet. We'll find out. But yeah, so like I've managed it on the back end before, but the nice thing about doing the back end on OBS is that you can kind of hear exactly what's going on. Whereas when you're doing it for yourself...
There, now you look like a true pirate.
Yes.
There's plenty more to see, so why not stretch your legs and explore?
Hello,
I'll
Robin.
be
How are you?
here when you're ready to leave.
Okay, good. I'm glad the volume is better. But yeah, like not being able to monitor your stuff, especially when you're playing a video game, is an interesting challenge for anything regarding sound design. So I'm recording this, and I'm going to listen back to it or watch it back later, and hopefully be able to dial things in a little better for the next time. But yeah, a little bit of Sea of Thieves lore. Sleepy, aw. It is pretty early in the morning times. Sleepy is understandable. But yeah, so a little bit of Sea of Thieves lore. This ship, if I remember correctly, is called the Magpie. So this ship used to belong to the guy on the beach, the pirate lord. When he first came to the Sea of Thieves, it ended up getting in a huge storm and wrecking on this island, which has now become sort of the tutorial island. So according to my understanding of the lore, Sea of Thieves is actually set in the real world, quote-unquote, like actual historical golden age of piracy. And the Sea of Thieves is supposed to be kind of like the Bermuda Triangle, in a way. It's sort of this cordoned off, blocked off area. Ooh, dice. From the rest of the world that only pirates know about, or used to know about. Yeah, the zone, pirate zone, basically. It's even sort of surrounded by an anti-pirate zone, which we're going to get to see a little bit later on. I call it the Blood Sea. I know it's probably got a name. Ooh, a journal. Sea of Thieves, that's what they're calling it nowadays. The genie is out of the bottle, and the more pirates are finding their way there every day. Some are looking to hide from their enemies, from their pasts, from the Grand Maritime Union. So Grand Maritime Union is this world's equivalent to the East India Trading Company. Let's see. Robin says, I mean, I can help you get the monitoring stuff set up right after the stream. It's not something you'll want on constantly. So it's going to be a bit delayed from input audio. Yeah, that's the really hard part, is that everything's just a tiny bit delayed. Just a little bit. Which means you can't really, like, monitor it constantly. But if there's a way to monitor it momentarily, that'd be very useful. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, as I was saying, the Grand Maritime Union is sort of this world's equivalent to the East India Trading Company. It's funny because... Let's see, delayed just enough that it'll disrupt your speech. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Much like my thoughts in real life. Yeah, Grand Maritime Union. It's this world's East India Trading Company. My understanding, I don't know if this is true or not necessarily, but they tried to use actual East India Trading Company, but some guy in like the 20 teens or so decided to fire back up the East India Trading Company as a brand. So now it's technically copyrighted. So they can't use it, or couldn't use it, or didn't want to risk using it, or something along those lines. But anyway, it's only a matter of time before they reach this island too. Maybe they'll be dreaming about all the Sea of Thieves has to offer, just as I was. If that's the shape of things to come, I'd be a fool to complain. Instead, I'll stow a few supplies around the place for those who need them. Things work differently beyond the shroud. Better for the most part, but newcomers will have to think on their feet if they're to survive. That makes sense. But yeah, it's very funny to me that the East India Trading Company has just been zombified and brought back to life by someone who thought, I think that's a great idea. like not even taking into account a lot of the more modern, like pop cultural perspectives on the East India Trading Company. They were objectively terrible for anyone who wasn't a stakeholder in the East India Trading Company. Bad for sailors, bad for ships, bad for the people they were exploiting. Fantastic for profit. Let's see here. This goes down a little bit. Oof. And then underneath. But yeah, it's been a while since I've done the tutorial. Let's see, a corporation with the world's most powerful navy? Don't mind if I do. Exactly! And the best part is they didn't even own the navy half the time. They just had to align their values with the ruling powers, and suddenly you get a free starter navy, and then once you have that, you can just build your own. It's actually kind of an issue that I have with Sea of Thieves overall. Like the Pirate Lord's perspective, they try to portray him as this heroic figure who's just trying to... Ooh, that's something interesting. I gotta get in there. As this like heroic figure who's there to like protect the pirate way of life, which is already a weird statement, a deeply weird statement, just historically and conceptually. But also he invites trading companies from the outside world into the Sea of Thieves. So you've got a bunch of pirates who are actively trading and building their trade around what are essentially proto-corporations, which, you know, not historically inaccurate, but also very odd thematically. Ooh, that's cool. So all that red over there, I believe that's the Shroud, that's the Blood Sea. That's what surrounds the Sea of Thieves. It definitely fits sort of the pirate zone idea that Steph was alluding to. Because it also has a tendency to rapidly age anything that enters it, if I remember the lore correctly. So like your nails start rusting out, you start springing a bunch of holes, and eventually you sink. Paintings from the past. Of all the unsolved mysteries that haunt my dreams, none are more tantalizing than the long-lost people known to pirates as the Ancients. Their legacy can be felt all across the Sea of Thieves, from ruins that lurk under deep waters to cliff-top paintings that shame my humbler efforts. They clearly had a great wealth of knowledge and had mastered many curses and other arcane powers, and yet something drove them to leave. Maybe some great war or calamity struck their civilization. Perhaps it was time for them to move on. The truth, as it always has, eludes us. Yeah, like there's... Let's see. EIC is now a store that sells coins, fine food and lifestyles, and EIC branded junk, I guess. Oh my lord. So what you're telling me is the person not only had a terrible idea, but also did terrible things with the terrible idea. They turned the East India Trading Company into a glorified version of the duty-free store at any given airport. Which, you know, it's a pretty fair fate, if I'm being honest. Alright, I want to try... Yeah, there we go. Q1 grotto. I love a good grotto. How's the volume on this water? Because this feels pretty loud. I feel like this would be a good indication of balance. Devil Shroud, I see. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there's a voyage later on. It's one of my favorites. I haven't done it in years. There's a sort of storyline called the Shroud Breaker, in which you try to get back out of the Sea of Thieves. Bounce is pretty good. Alright, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so, rowboats, Sea of Thieves. Rowboats are really cool. I like them a lot. They have a little storage chest in the back, which is super handy. You can find all kinds of things in these. So the nicest thing is you usually find some better food than bananas, so bananas are sort of the bottom of the barrel. Yell over the water. I don't know if I got too much yelling in me. I'm already having to remind myself to drink water, because I don't usually do this much talking at one time. And that's part of the reason why I'm trying to start so short overall, because I'm only planning on doing like a couple hours today. Yeah, non-stop, definitely. So I'm trying to be gentle on my voice, at least to start with, because some people don't know your vocal cords are kind of like muscles in their own right, because they are muscles in their own right. But you can train them. Starts playing row, row, row your boat. Legend. Yeah, so the rowboat mechanics are really cool. Because you've got your usual row, and you can choose sides, which is kind of how you turn. But you can also dig in your oars on either side. Your boat, excellent. When you dig in your oars, it sort of works as a brake on one side. So you can get like really tight turns in. Which is definitely handy if you're trying to maneuver through some of the tighter places in the game. What I like to do for steering the boat specifically is that you can kind of look behind you, you can't go all the way over, you're kind of stuck. But if you look over your shoulder, quote unquote, then your A and D keys, I presume it's the triggers for Xbox and PS5 players, but they kind of become directional keys. So if you want to go more left, you just hit the left. If you want to go right, you hit the right. And then if you want to like do a hard turn, you can pick which side to do the brake. So that kind of works. The only problem is that if you're looking on one side and you need to go somewhere else, like it's easy to forget. So kind of try to start on the side that you want to turn towards. But yeah, when you got your rowboats, every boat in Sea of Thieves, the 3 different types of boats, has a spot on it, usually towards the back, where you can dock your rowboat. Bingo. You got a little mobile storage vehicle. But yeah. You get the little rats running around. So this thing is pretty messed up. So it's going to need some fixing before we leave, I presume. But I've got some other things I want to do first. Mainly finding all of these journals, and ideally, the treasure that is hidden here on the island, if I recall. I'm not ready to set sail yet. So yeah, I meant to do that. Let's see. So this is your pirate log. This sort of keeps track of what you got going on, like the not battle pass they've got going. But more importantly, you have your reputation here in this section, where you can keep track of your reputation with all the different trading companies. Your tall tales, which are your stories. And that right here is where we find Maiden Voyage, which funnily enough is exactly what I'm trying to work on. So within the tutorial, in terms of stuff that we're going to try and get done today, we've got Reach the Sea of Thieves, which is towards the end of the tutorial. Oh yeah? It should be a video? Maybe. I could always edit it back together. But yeah, it looks like we have 10 journals on the island. Hold of the Magpie's Fortune. Catch a fish whilst on the Maiden Voyage. That could be fun. I'm going to have to try that. Discover the rowboat, so we got that one. Cook some meat on Old Sailor's Isle, which we'll have to knock that one out. We could probably do both of these at the same time. The fish and the meat. Fire a cannon from the wreck of the Magpie's Fortune, and complete all Maiden Voyage commendations. And this is where the cosmetics in Sea of Thieves kind of come into play. A lot of people don't realize that there are cosmetics tied to commendations in a lot of cases, whether they're like stories or things you explore and find in the world. So here, if we get Unto the Horizon, which is, which one is that? Get to the Sea of Thieves, you get a free jacket, which is nice. I like this jacket a lot, actually. It's one of my favorites. And then if you complete the Adventure Begins, and you unlock the Magpie's Fortune sails. So that means these same, like, pretty decent sails that you see here on the boat at the top of the hill will be the same ones we can put on our ships. So that's part of the reason I want to get the full commendation, because I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, so we got 2 journals so far. We'll have to keep poking around a little bit. And if it's in the hold of the Magpie's Fortune, that means there must be a door here somewhere. Couldn't be here. Let's see, I need a little bit more light. So yeah, with the lanterns, they're cool because you can toggle them real easy. And then if you do a right click, or your alternate hold, it comes up high, and you can use that to kind of light your way. It's very atmospheric. So yeah, you can kind of see here, this is a map table for the Sea of Thieves. And some of these islands I recognize, like that up there at the top. That is Smuggler's Bay, also what I like to call Noob Trap Island. It's got a really pretty bay that's very easy to sail into, and it looks like it hides you on all sides. But it's also very easy to get trapped in. So I've sunk several people in previous seasons who have decided it would be a good idea to dock up in Smuggler's Bay. It's not a good idea. Well, if the hold isn't here, it's got to be somewhere else. Maybe it's in the rocks somewhere? I don't know. It would be very odd. Extremely weird. I guess it doesn't really matter unless we have the key first, so. So I think we've explored most of this side of the island. There might have been a journal down in the grotto, actually, now that I think of it. That would be a good place to put a journal. I think I got distracted by the rowboat a little too early. Yeah, there's got to be something down here. And I know for a fact that door can open, and I didn't open that door, so. So that was the grate over there. Yeah, this is one thing I adore about this game, is just the ambience of it. Like a little less so on the tutorial island, although it is very scenic. But like when you're out on the sea itself, like everything changes. Bingo. Everything changes so much, like during different parts of the day, during storms. Like it's a very pretty game, especially the water. All right, a ship that fits. We've all seen what happens when huge armadas try to make it through the Devil's Shroud, and it's not pretty. Screaming sailors and splintered ships. I learned long ago that smaller crews have a better chance of making it along the twisting routes that provide safe passage to the Sea of Thieves. A lone traveler is best served by a sloop. It's small and nimble, though their size comes at the expense of firepower. Larger crews must learn to sail a brigantine or even the mighty galleon, a commanding sight with her 8 cannons and 3 great sails. Then, of course, we have the humble rowboat. These tiny craft can be carried by other larger ships and are perfect for retaining the element of surprise. Yes, it's a bit of a tradition in Sea of Thieves to use rowboats for a variety of shenanigans. Alright, so usually when there's a door that you can't just open like this, it means there is something to pull or turn somewhere in the vicinity. It's usually some kind of a pull rope. Let's see, anything up here? Pokey, pokey, poke, poke. Nope, no luck. Anything over here? Nope. Maybe I'm on the wrong side. Maybe it was meant to be open from the business end instead of being an exit for the grotto. I have to find the other side of that thing, I think, to know for sure. Yeah, the water's very pretty. They use a fast Fourier transform, I believe, is the method that they use for their water. And then combining that with a number of like different algorithms for sensing peaks and things. You don't see it as much here because we're near an island. And the rolling waves are very, very sort of lax and relaxed. But once we get going into the higher seas, you'll definitely see a little bit more of what the water system they put in this game can do. It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it would appear I've gotten myself stuck in aforementioned water. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's a minor nitpick per se, but one thing that annoys me a little bit about Sea of Thieves is that their 1 to 2 person boat, their sloop. There we go, it's a way up. Their sloop, they decided to make it something that's a little bit more like ship-rigged, which is to say, like, when the sail is square and mounted on the mast, that's ship-rigged. As opposed to something a little bit more accurate and a little more interesting, which for something like Sea of Thieves would be more akin to like a lateen sail, is what they call it, which is where instead of being sort of crossways on the mast itself would be mounted at an angle, so the front edge of the sail would be more towards the front part of the ship, and then the raised edge of the sail would be towards the back side, and the sail would run along the length of the hull, which was easier to manage for untrained crew, easier to maintain, and also given the situation in the Caribbean in terms of like winds that you would run into and the sorts of waters you would navigate, which is to say like very rough shoals and coral reefs and things like that. The lateen sail is just better suited all around for quick turning, quick stops. Let's see, is there anything hidden in here? Nope, just some coral. No secrets for Aravis, unfortunate. I feel like maybe? Door? Door? A new landmark. Oh wait, how did that happen? Oh, there's... There we go. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. Alright, regarding merfolk. A new landmark. This stricken ship certainly wasn't here during my last visit. There's no sign of her crew, so perhaps they fell overboard and met their end. That's kind of dour. Things are very different on the Sea of Thieves, thanks in no small part to my own adventures, I must confess. We have an arrangement with the merfolk who live deep under the waves. Should any pirate become lost at sea, stranded, they'll help them back to their ship. Should you find yourself flung overboard, traveler, look for the merfolk's beacon before the sharks get your scent. You'll be glad you did. Ah, sharks and scents. Always good to be wary of. Yes, that's sort of the main way to get back to a boat if you fall off the boat. Let's see, Steph says, I think that's a pretty good format idea. Stream for content and shenanigans and condense the streams into tutorials or highlights. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, like especially short form, because I feel like a lot of this like footage could easily be sort of trimmed down with a new voiceover to be made useful but a little less rambly, because my poor scattered brain does tend to ramble. Yeah, for better or worse. Chickens! So, one thing I also love about Sea of Thieves is that the islands actually have animals on them. So this guy right here, this gold chicken, if you find a chicken cage or you buy a chicken cage from the Merchant Alliance, this guy's actually worth a pretty decent amount of money, but you got to take care of them. So if they're on your boat, then you got to feed them. And some of the animals are a little dangerous too, so you can get snakes are one of the ones that annoy me to no end because the venom lasts so long. The snakes you don't have to feed them, but they'll bite you unless you keep them entertained, so you have to play music at them to make them calm down for a while so they stop trying to murder you. And then chickens generally are like easier. You don't have to feed them nearly as often. They just tend to die very easily. And then I think there are pigs. It's like pigs is especially appropriate because pigs in general were an incredibly important food stuff in the Caribbean during the Golden Age of piracy especially. And now they're an incredibly destructive force in Florida, so we can all thank the Spanish for that. The power of colonization compels you. Let's see here. Yeah, there are native wild hogs in the Caribbean, as I understand it. I'm not an expert on this, but there are several wild species of hog, and they're generally regarded to be very dangerous and not as good eating in the historical record, partially because they're more dangerous. But when the Spanish came to the Caribbean, they had a habit of dropping off a lot of their pigs. Anything under here? No? Okay. They had a habit of dropping off a lot of their pigs anywhere that they landed. And pigs being pigs, they can eat lots of things we can't eat and then turn it into pig, which a lot of people can't eat. Which I have no idea if that was intentional or not, but it certainly was a big part of what drove the ability of people to just move from island to island. Alright, let's get some of this other stuff knocked out here, because we need to fire a cannon, I know that much. Which means there must be a cannon somewhere up here, right? What's that? I feel like I should be able to read that, but it doesn't, I don't know. Ah, cannon barrel, that's promising. So there are lots of different kinds of ammunition in this silly little game. So it's just your regular everyday cannonball. This right here is anchor. So this is how you raise your anchor. This one looks like it's for a galleon. So these are very, very slow to lift and manipulate. And then as the boats get smaller. Meow, hello Break. Welcome to the stream. Today we are poking around in Sea of Thieves, specifically the Maiden Voyage tutorial. How are you doing today? Yeah, so you hop on in the cannon. You can change your windage left and right. Elevation up and down. Still sick? No. How long have you been sick? One moment. I've got a bot to eliminate. Goodbye so long. Since like yesterday. That's entirely too long. I hope you feel better soon. That's not fun. It's never fun being sick. Yeah, cannons. You can do windage. You can do elevation. And the interesting thing is that the motion of your ship gets added to the cannon, which is... it's not entirely accurate. It's close enough, though. But yeah, so you fire a cannon. And it makes a clunk for some reason. Because cannons are known for having moving parts. That's normal. Let's see, like then it feels like you feel better, and then you stand up, you're like, nope, I'm not better. I know exactly how you feel. As queen of the capacity for doing things when I shouldn't be doing things. I have experienced this myself, and it is not fun. I feel for you. Yeah, so once you've got your cannon loaded, you get your little fuse on the back, because apparently we're doing matchlock cannons. Yes, the cannon is rotating, exactly. And then you get your cannonball, kablamo. Very, very nice. And then you've got your wheel here, and you can load different stuff. So fire bombs are really good, because, you know, boats are made of wood. Blammo, instant fire. And then you also get fireworks, which are really fun at night, especially. But you can fire them at pretty much any angle. And they're really cool. It's also kind of the universal, yeah, signals, exactly. It's really nice in multiplayer, like when you're on the high seas, because like the universal let's talk instead of instantly shooting each other. Thank you for the follow, Break. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. I'm excited to have new people. But yeah, so like the universal signal for don't shoot me, I just want to talk is firing a firework up into the air, which is pretty cool. You also get access to some longer standing flares. Thank you, Steph. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follow. You get some longer burning flares, which can be selectively useful. There are some skeletons that you can only hurt after they've been exposed to light. So, I bet that's the hold that I need to get into. I bet that's it. It needs a key. Where's the key? Ah! Yeah, so some skeletons can only be affected by when they've been exposed to light. So if you're in a battle with those skeletons at night, you have a problem because there's no light to work with. Which, you know, obviously a challenge. But if you use a flare fired out of a cannon, selectively useful is my middle name. I'm right with you on that one. It is how I live my life. Selectively useful, selectively available. And hello, Rose. Welcome to the stream, the first of the stream. Celebrity. Yeah, are you I've heard Steph talk about Rose before, and I think it was you. I've heard really good things about your stream. And I'm glad to have you here. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate it. And thank you for the follow, Rose. I appreciate that as well. But yeah, so you can use flares to illuminate skeletons and kill them a little more easily. You can also use... Let's see, is there anything in here? I feel like there's always something behind waterfalls. And there appears to be one here. See, I feel like that should be something. Maybe it is something? Scribbles. Yes, scribbles. Pump those numbers up to appease the algorithm. Yes, the algorithm must be appeased so that we can all engage in creative endeavors on our own terms. Otherwise, we can't. It has a picture of a boat. That is true. It does have a picture of a boat. So it might be something. I'll have to save a note on that. There's a big question mark there as well. And then a big X. Looks like down there. So I don't know, maybe it's a clue. We'll have to wait on that one. But yeah, for those of you who are new here, new to the stream anyway, we're currently going through the tutorial of Sea of Thieves. Just set dressing, yeah, possibly. A dotted line from the boat to the X. That is true. Maybe it's wishful thinking from a depressed pirate. Yeah, that is true. They do tend to be very good at emphasizing important things. Like really good use of lighting in general. Yeah, you and me both break, which is unfortunate, especially now that people are watching me be lost. Let's see here. What's this? Journal entry. Not all my journeys to this island are happy ones. Today I stumbled onto this poor soul, map still in hand, to think they were so close. Ah, I bet that's what it is. Let's see. No matter how swiftly we sail or how sharp our aim, it's only a matter of time before the Reaper's hand clamps down upon our shoulder. I am fortunate to have had a friend with wisdom enough to know this. Thanks to her, I live on beyond my years, at least in spirit. It's a little sus. Yeah, sounds important now, doesn't it? I don't know how important it was, Break, given that it didn't apparently work for this guy. So perhaps we should not regard it with particular gravity. Just for younger pirates, another hope presents itself. When they perish, their souls are saved from drifting alone through the sea of the damned. Robin says, I think that's what the thing right in front of you is in the skeleton's hand. Yeah. If you should die on the Sea of Thieves and find yourself in the ferryman's company, know this. He deserves your respect, for he has made the greatest sacrifice of all. Foreshadowing! One thing I do like about this game is like they make a lot of this pay off, like at least in small ways. I mean, they died trying out, but maybe they were almost there or as far removed as can be. Yeah, there's no way to tell. The weird thing about a map is that without a frame of reference, there's no way to tell what's going on. Well, I'm willing to bet that's the Devil's Shroud, as Steph has elucidated the name of it, which is that red thing on the horizon, just off the island. So I guess that's where they're trying to get. And then they've got, looks like a dotted line, and I bet that's our island right there, that little squiggly. Oh no, that's just a face, that's wind blowing. Yes, pirate maps are like Doctor's handwriting. For the same reason that Doctor's handwriting is like Doctor handwriting. It's professional security. Alright, so that's another journal down. Let's check our tall tale status real quick. And see how we're doing. So we haven't done catch a fish, we can do that. Open the hold of the Magpie's Fortune, which is what we're working on. We've got about half the journals currently. Reach the Sea of Thieves, which would kind of be the denouement that we're going after. Cook some meat on Old Sailor's Isle. And complete all Maiden Voyage commendations, which is going to be the big one. So yeah, let's try and cook some meat, which to do that I guess we have to catch a fish. Let's go down here. This looks like a pretty good fish catching spot. Yeah, you can see that red on the horizon there. That's the shroud. Important question. Would you rather be a fish or a chicken? I don't know. That's kind of a challenging one. Because with a fish, you've got 3 dimensions to work with, which is inherently kind of cool. A trophy ruby splashtail. Ooh, now we're cooking with gas. Nope. Nope. But the thing about chickens, generally speaking, is that chickens hang out in groups. Although I guess fish also hang out in schools. Yeah, the kind of fish is pretty important, but also the kind of chicken. There are some chickens who are just... Ah, damn. That does make me think, though. We were talking about sharks earlier. Are sharks fish? I've never gotten that one straight. Let's try with the less muscular fish. Brick says, I mean, I live in the Netherlands and wouldn't want to be either. Yeah, that's fair. If you live in the Netherlands, as I understand it, the weather would be very unpleasant for either scenario. Sharks or puppies. Unfortunately, Rose did not give me the option of puppy, otherwise it would be a much easier question. Both have a pretty bad time here, yeah. Sunny splashtail. Non-fish in the sea are invertebrates or mammals. I see. See, if I was given the option of whether to be an invertebrate, that also would be a pretty easy answer. Just because invertebrates are A, pretty cool. B, have a wide variety. Ah, damn. So I think what's happening here is they're bouncing off the rocks, and that's breaking the line. So I need to find somewhere a little bit more open than my cool and cozy fishing spot. Perhaps somewhere a little more coastal. But yeah, invertebrates are a very, very broad category. There's a lot of really cool invertebrates. You have decent social interaction. Mantis shrimp vision range, yes. You have really cool superpowers. Optimize my gameplay. If I try to optimize my gameplay, we're never going to get anywhere. It's the beauty of ADD. Let's see. I've been trying to optimize my gameplay in this godforsaken game, on and off since the game was released, and I still have not succeeded. Which is part of the reason why I wanted to start new with this, because I loved like the newbie experience of Sea of Thieves. Just because the aesthetic is really cool and it's very relaxed. There's nothing really pressuring you to do much in this game, other than yourself. Another trophy splashtail. Now we're talking. Fish appear out of nowhere. It works a lot better when you're in the open ocean. And they just kind of swim up from the bottom. Take the bait, you dingus. Grab it. There you go. Attaboy. So yeah, it's a pretty standard fish minigame. You just have to go left and right, wear them out, and then reel them in. There's an entire trading company that is dedicated to catching fish. And I guess also like hunting megalodons and the occasional kraken. Robin says mantis shrimps have like a dozen wavelength peaks compared to the human eyes 3. That's wild. That would be great. I feel like a surprisingly large amount of my enjoyment of the world comes from looking at it and the things in it. So mantis shrimps must objectively just have a better time overall. Also, if I miss anyone's comments, I am so sorry. My monitor arrangement is a little awkward. Though the mantis brain can't actually process the difference between each of those colors. That's okay, neither can mine. Half the time anyway. Steph says, yeah, I was gonna say that, yeah. It's like that meme going around a few years back, whether the dress was, what was it, like black or gold. Humans aren't as good at processing colors, I think, as we like to think we are. Like, some of us definitely are. Like, artists in general are very talented when it comes to that stuff, but humans get confused easily. A training thing, yeah, definitely a training thing. I guess the capacity for, like, training our ability to do things is pretty human-y, which is pretty cool. Bingo! Okay, so I've got a bit of a dilemma here that's pretty common when people start playing Sea of Thieves, which is to say you've caught a fish, but you don't have any room in your inventory. Bingo would be a fun name for a fish. It would. Bingo's a pretty good fish name. I feel like fish names should be snappy, 1 to 2 syllables. But yeah, so like if you end up with the fish stuck on the rod, what you can do is you can go in here, and you can eat a food. And then when you go back to your fishing rod, your fish is still there. The thing you don't want to do is left click, because when you left click, it throws your lure back out. And when you do that, it throws your fish away. So if you just use your radial, you go back, you get a food, and then when you've eaten your food and made a space, you can pick up your fish. Ta-da! Witty. Now we just have to find a place to cook the fish. I also don't know if I've checked this side of the island for a journal yet or not. I should probably do that. There we go. What kind of fish is it? So I'm not sure what kind of actual fish it is, but this one is called a splashtail. So splashtails are ones that you usually find out in open water, but they kind of let you catch them near islands sometimes. I have no idea. It's yellow, so obviously lemon. That's obviously the case. But yeah, so one thing that's really fun about fishing in Sea of Thieves, banana-flavored fish, yeah. It tracks. This game has entirely too many bananas in it. Robin says human color processing can tell the difference between colors as close as 1 nanometer wavelength apart, while mantis shrimp start to be unable to distinguish them somewhere between 25 and 50 nanometer different. Wow. That's wild. Artificial banana flavor. What do they call those things? There's a particular name for those bananas that the artificial flavor is based off of. I can't remember it. But supposedly all the different banana flavors are based off of this one archaic banana that no longer exists. Gros Michel. Yes, thank you. Excuse my awful, terrible French. I feel like this environment design is leading somewhere. Maybe just into the water in general. All bananas are genetically identical. Incredible. It exists, they're just expensive because only like one farm has them. This one guy in a trench coat on the corner of some farm in the Caribbean being like, hey kid, do you want some bananas? That's why one disease and it's over. They're literally clones. Yeah. That happens with a lot of cash crops. Most bananas do fit into a very short list of genetic varieties. Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, that's a big part of Caribbean agriculture, like especially in the golden age of piracy, like I was talking about earlier. You had large amounts of livestock being dropped off by Spanish sailors, and like lots of foodstuffs being grown there that hadn't been grown there before. And then over time, of course, like the stuff that is really effective and has already had generations of European cultivation to be very good at surviving in certain situations, you know, outcompetes local foodstuffs. And it ends up killing off a lot of biodiversity, which then increases the vulnerability of the ecosystems in general. So now you've got the Caribbean is fairly resilient overall, like ecologically speaking, but like it definitely has some lasting effects from colonization, a lot of which owes its origin to the age of piracy. Well, not directly, but you know, same sort of time period. Let's see. What was I doing? My poor brain. Ooh, there's another waterfall. Is there something behind this waterfall? There is not something behind this waterfall. Let's see, Cavendish is the current mass-produced variety, but they're currently struggling To fight off a blight on many of farms may end up sending Cavendish on the way to Gros Michel. That's very sad. I think that happens with a lot of fruit varieties as well. Not just bananas, but like lots of like orchards and things like that. It's comparatively easy for one sort of critter or one sort of organism to get into a space and then wreak havoc because everyone's playing the same things in the same way. Bananas smell gross anyway, that's fair. Kind of like people, ecological stability usually like relies on celebration and cultivation of differences, as opposed to the alternative. Robin says it's specifically bad with bananas because they're seedless crops and can only reproduce through grafting. Ooh. Yeah, that would explain. I cannot, for the life of me, find a place to cook this dang fish. Oh, Alex, next stream you should put chat on the stream video. Okay, I will do that. That is a good recommendation, thank you. Yeah, that's the other thing I'm wondering about too. Like if I'm going to try and use some of this stuff to make tutorials, I'll have to keep it off to the sides. So I have stuff in the middle to clip together. We'll have to see. I feel like there was a camp or something up on this side. If I'm putting avatar in chat on the left is ideal. Oh, no, right side. Okay. Good to know. I will have to... Oh, that's where that was. Remember earlier when I was trying to figure out where the door opens? It was just a switch. I found it, y'all. Oh. Hello. Also, another journal. Even with all the wonders I've experienced, it's the simple things in life that remain the most enjoyable. Tonight, that's a hot meal roasted over a roaring fire. Fresh fruit's all well and good, but if you take the time to properly prepare a meal, you'll feel the better for it. The trick is to keep an eye on the dish and serve it up when it's perfectly cooked. No amount of grog can wash away the taste of burned food. Can confirm. With care and a bit of practice, even a humble splashtail can keep a pirate in good health with a full belly. At least they're good for something. Interesting. I personally think splashtails are good for a lot of things, like being adorable and tasting like bananas. It varies by game TBH. Yeah, that makes sense. That's part of why I ended up placing it where it's at, because health bar's on the bottom left. Ammo count's on the bottom right. Like if I take out my pistol, you can see all my shot counter becomes visible over there. You've got notifications in the middle, and then sometimes stuff comes up on the top left, but only occasionally. Having a frame solves that. That's fair. I did kind of get like a tiny little bit of a frame, a little line. Partially because I felt like since I decided to use a headshot of my VR avatar, that it needed something to sit on. It just felt weird otherwise. So cooking in this game is a little tricky because of all the different stuff. But generally with fish it's pretty simple. You wait for the eyeballs to go kind of like white, and that usually solves it. But you can cook kraken, you can cook sharks, you can cook big sharks like megalodons. 2 monitor stream, yeah. Has it been done? I think the better question is, should it be done? The scientists were so obsessed with asking if they could, and they never figured out if they should. It's also really bad lighting in here. This is not a good cooking pan. I think it's fine. Yeah, there it goes. So it starts to brown up. And then you can grab it. Bango. 1 toasty splashtail. Ooh, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's neat. That's really neat. Wow. Yeah, that's part of what I love about this game is they've got a really good sense of just vistas. They give you little windows to cool views and cool things a lot. Especially in the tall tales. Okay. Glowy mushroom. Yeah, good environments, definitely. I mean, it prob solves one issue and introduces like 80 others. I mean, what things in life do not follow this pattern? Yeah, they do a lot of this stuff too, where you've got like little widgets from ships and things that pirates have kind of like cobbled together. Blowing stuff up, that too. Is that what tech bros mean when they say disrupt? They just mean blow up? They might as well and like save the extra steps. Cool. So that's how we were supposed to get down here. I guess I skipped a step. Oops. So for those who didn't join at the beginning of the stream, there's a rowboat down here. And then they had a cute little view up from the corner here through this little bit of grating. And you could see the boat in the grotto, so I just kind of jumped down and came in the back way. But apparently this is the way I was supposed to go, judging by the fact that they actually did give me a journal entry. Alright, so we've cooked a fish. We've fired a cannon. Isn't this game like 50% finding your own way into places? It absolutely is. Like, there's no mini-map. There's no little line to follow. Your health bar is basically the only static UI you get. Everything else is just where do you want to go and what do you want to do, which I like a lot. And it's also like, I can't decide if it's good or bad for my poor little ADD brain. On one hand, it's really easy to just burn inordinate amounts of time wandering in circles. But like on the other hand, it's also kind of nice to not have your attention constantly be stolen away from you. Good luck and have fun, basically. Yeah, good luck and have fun, except half the people are trying to murder you and take your stuff. It's called Sea of Thieves for a reason, you know? But yeah, just hanging out on the edge of the world. Actually, this might be a good spot for a quick break. I need to refill my water bottle and all that stuff. So I will leave this as a quick still, and I will be back in about 5-10 minutes. Yes, thank you. I'm glad my BRB text is appreciated. I forgot to put adding the text to that particular screen on my to-do list, so it never got done. Let's see. Break says that it's funny how water is spelled the same in Dutch, pronounced quite differently. I'm not aware of that. How is it spelled in Dutch? I'm now curious. Or pronounced in Dutch, I guess I should say. Since they're spelled the same. When the cat is away, the mice dance on the tables. Now we're talking. I am all in favor of mice having a good time. Mice should be permitted to have a good time because they're not here for a long time. And Rose says, that ship has got to fall over eventually. No way it stays up like that. I know, right? Especially being broken in half the way that it is. That's something that a lot of people don't realize about like Golden Age of piracy stuff either, is that European ships were in no way suitable for sailing in Caribbean waters for very long at all. They often would have hulls made of oak and other sort of like trees that are indigenous to Europe. And because of the warm waters, there were worms that would live in the hull and would devour it from the inside out, or from the outside in. And then you would have holes in your ship, and as we all know, holes in your ship is not a good recipe for getting very far when you're trying to sail somewhere. So what ended up happening was that the Europeans invested entirely too much money in trying to solve this particular issue of their big fancy battleships not being, or ships of the line, not being able to survive in Caribbean water. Which, you know, typical European practice. They tried like lead plating them. They tried putting different forms of like shellac on them. Break says, I mean, holes can be okay if you can maintain buoyancy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. You can always bung it. The problem is when you're dealing with worms, like they go all over the place. So you end up having a bunch of holes over a fairly short period of time. But the solution ended up being like building things out of indigenous wood, which indigenous folks in the Caribbean were already doing. They were making these things called piraguas, which are like little sailed canoes, right? Basically tiny sailing ships. Well, I got distracted and heard this last bit with no context. It was terrifying. Yes, I'm so sorry, Rose. We're talking about ship hulls specifically, like European ship hulls. And then how they were unsuitable for sailing in the Caribbean because of particular types of fish or particular types of worms that live in Caribbean waters and would eat the wood. Yeah, local wood, resistant to local wood eaters. Amazing. Yeah, so you would end up with, they called them Jamaica sloops because a lot of the wood was harvested on Jamaica and nearby islands. It was like a type of cedar. And then the type of cedar that they were using was stuff that the bugs didn't want to eat. So that ended up being the answer for local trade anyway, although the Europeans were hard-headed and insisted on trying to maintain their stuff. So you would have lots of like local trade between islands and things like that, or even like early pirates. Like a lot of people think of pirates as being like on sloops and like these big ships with 30, 40 cannons. Yeah, if you are inclined to eat wood, I mean, cellulose is good. Yeah, the same sort of thing. Like the reason people often keep like chunks of cedar in their, they will keep chunks of cedar like in their wardrobe to ward off bugs. Or like a pretty common one is like hope chests and things like that made out of cedar for keeping fine linens and things in. So that the bugs don't munch your stuff. Because bugs like to munch stuff. Who can blame them? We all like to munch stuff. Alright. I am letting this tendency to wander in circles get the better of me. We need to find the key to that hold. I think that's the last thing that's left here. There's other stuff I could do. I could go try to find the journals, but I'm worried it will be boring because I have no idea where they are. Even though there's only 4 of them left, apparently. Didn't deter them enough, though. Yeah, indeed. yeah, like it's interesting because like so a lot of the early like proto pirates, one of the flavors of early proto pirate you get, they were Dutch. They were sea rovers if I remember correctly, and they brought like tactics and approaches that were very different for the time. Yeah, proto pirate. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Like buccaneers, another one of my favorite like flavors of proto pirate. Um, very democratic sort of way of like they brought like a democratic flavor of like how to manage their own like affairs internally anyway. Although they did not make any effort to make that more expansive or in any way challenge monarchy. And it certainly didn't stop them from oppressing other people who were both in and outside of their group. The polder model. I'm not familiar with that. What is that? Let's see. Okay, so what was I saying? The hold. We gotta open the hold. Where there is a lock, there is a key. The way that they made decisions and stuff. Ah, okay, I'll have to look that up. That sounds really cool. I mean, I say proto-pirate, but honestly, like, the label of pirate in general is far more political than it is in any way, like, practical. It's a matter of political orientation to power structure half the time, like most of the time. Still kind of a thing, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I have to find the gentleman's name. I'll have to look him up again. But I was listening to a podcast. There's a YouTube channel called Golden Gunpowder that has a lot of cool stuff in regards to history of piracy, and a lot of cool details like how like ships are rigged and things like that. Pirate equals you did a crime at sea. Yeah, basically. And even then, like the definition of crime is incredibly like useless. As it is already, but like in general, when applied to piracy, you did it. It's more like you did a crime at sea to someone that we liked. And Brake says, and the Dutch monarchy is only about 200 years old, so it was still a republic back then. Interesting. That's extremely interesting. And Robin says, so what exactly a pirate is depends on each country's maritime laws. Yes, and often like the whims of each country's governor as well. Which I've always found incredibly interesting. Like, there is, I hesitate to really call it a pirate republic. It's a little bit wonky, but the island of Nassau, when it was rife with piracy, according to his like legend, so to speak, a lot of Nassau's or a lot of Nassau's like origin came from a pirate named Henry Avery. Essentially bribing a governor to let him use it like as a place to dock his ships and, you know, provide resources to his crew. And then over time it just became the de facto local government structure. So often like the capacity of an individual to perform piracy relied on a piece of paper. Like a letter of marque is a fancy way to put it, but it was really just a piece of paper with the right person's signature on it saying, yeah, you can go do stuff. Just give us a share. Nassau, yeah. Indeed. Well, I wish they would give me some sort of clue as to where to begin looking for this key, because I haven't the foggiest. I remember it being in water is all I remember. Yes, Nassau. Thank you. I'm terrible at pronouncing things. I only ever read them. Maybe it was hidden in here? The only thing I remember about the key is that it was related to water somehow. I remember finding it either near or in water, but that's been years ago. I read that one, Sea of the Damned. But yeah, the sort of granularity of the definition of pirate. Also incredibly important for buccaneers, who were very early. Again, sort of proto-pirates, but actually just pirates. Because they learned how to fight in the Caribbean, both like on water, but also mostly on land. And their skills were so useful that local colonizers who weren't the Spanish and who didn't have very well established power bases in the Caribbean would hire these buccaneers to go and fight for them and give them a share of the treasure. To the point where the buccaneers themselves were actually funding large amounts of the development of these early colonies. Like major advancements and like important infrastructure projects. These dudes are just like as crews and as individuals just putting the money in. Let's see. No. It should be a sparkle of some kind, I feel like there should be a sparkle. No luck. Bit rate's holding okay. Nassau is pronounced Nassau. Ow? Nassau? Nassau. Thank you. Nassau is an ouch. I'm gonna say that way for a while. Nassau with an ouch. But yeah, like most things in history, as soon as they outlived their usefulness, they were pushed out. Like as an institution. So like, especially colonizing governments, like government in general, they couldn't really afford to have anyone there who could in any way countermand their ability to prosecute their will. Steph, you been there? I didn't know that. When was that? That sounds like a really cool trip. NAS isn't like NASCAR. Named after the family of our current king. Ah, interesting. It all comes back to the Dutch. The Dutch get the short end of the straw when it comes to pirate history. Y'all were involved with everything. There's not that many watery places. Maybe I'm misremembering. Alright, I'm just going to move this ahead a little bit so I can get a little bit more momentum, because I'm not going to have to sail our way right away. I just got to make repairs to this poor, sad, beat-up little boat. Alright, Pirate Lord.
Well now, I say you're as ready as you'll ever be for what's ahead.
Bold of you to assert so.
Allow me to show you the path.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
The shroud is beginning to part, but you have one more task before your journey continues.
Does it fix the boat?
You may be ready to sail, but your ship still needs repairs. Go and tend to her wounds.
Yeah, it's fixed the boat, isn't it? I knew it. You can just say go fix the boat. You don't have to anthropomorphize the ship unless that's your thing. Let's see, Rose says, I'm waiting for the day you can eat every plant you find in video games. Yes, please, let me eat all of the plants, good or ill. I need this functionality in my life. Break says, King Willem Alexander von Orange. I'm not going to butcher that too terribly. I'm just not going to try. It's interesting, though. I didn't know that's what the island is named after. That's great. You anthropomorphize your ships all the time. I will never escape those allegations, so I'm not going to contravene them. Okay, so actually I should probably walk people through this. So if your mast gets knocked down, you have to pull on these bits here to pick it back up. And then once you picked it back up, it's still broke. It's still broke. You can see the crack right there. So on a sloop, there are 3 spots to repair. And you just Minecraft hammer it with your fist, apparently. This music is great. I love this music. And there you go. Good as new. Right? Yeah, that's how that works. Break says, English natives shouldn't have a hard time learning and pronouncing Dutch comparatively, and I'll stand by that, lol. Fair enough. Yeah, one of my underused features in Sea of Thieves is the bell. It's so useful. But yeah, you got bells on your ship. So this is the sloop. This is the basic 1 to 2 person Sea of Thieves boat. I do appreciate that they gave it a canopy that's actually pretty accurate to historical sloops. I'm annoyed that it's ship-rigged. That's not correct. I'm annoyed that there's no mizens. That's not correct. But like otherwise, it's pretty cool. It's a split deck design, which is really neat and unusual. You've got your harpoons up at the front. So these can be used to grab things or to grab the ground. You can lock them and unlock them. Smash that follow button and ring the bell. Oh my god. But yeah, harpoons are great in Sea of Thieves, especially if you're going solo, because you can get going, get up some speed, and then you just shoot this puppy out, and then you lock it, and you do a harpoon turn. It's really cool. There's some shenanigans we might get up to later. I'll show you a few tricks. You could say heavily, especially during certain times. Yes! Smash that follow button and ring that bell before my butt sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Robin says, it did have a pretty heavy impact on English pronunciation due to interactions between Dutch and British sailors and settlers interacting quite heavily. That makes a lot of sense. Another thing is that people forget there's a second bell. There's a second bell in Sea of Thieves. And it's really cool because it gets like echoey and stuff for people down below. But yeah, so you got a neat little flag post, which is cool. I like that it's lashed on there instead of like metal brackets, which would, you know, wear down and rust off at sea. This makes a lot more sense. What's the bell for? So bells in general, like on boats, were a way of signaling that an important order was about to be like made or an important alert was about to be given. So like what I like to do is if I'm up here like keeping an eye out and I see another player boat when I'm playing with someone else, I give this a couple rings, and if they're coming towards us, I do 3 rings. Like, it's not a big deal. You're on voice chat anyway. It's a lot easier to just talk to each other than if there was actually like someone down there and I was trying to yell at them. But it's fun. You also have a flag box here, so this cool like flag post. There's a lot of flags you can unlock, a lot of them by doing like commendations and stuff, because this game is about getting the shiny things that your heart desires. Steph says, if you have a crew, you can ring that bell to alert folks while you yell stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you start with a few cute little flags. You got a white flag. You got a checkered flag if you're a race car driver. Black flag, which is actually pretty accurate. Like, black flag is very common. Age of Sail, like, shorthand, because it's really easy to get, and pirates ultimately, like, don't want to spend a lot of time making their flag. You know? Oh my god, the French. I wasn't going to make that joke. But I'm glad you did. You got your usual like standard colored flags, blue, yellow. There's no green one by default, which is annoying. Red flag, also very historically accurate. Red flag was a flag of no quarter. It's like either I'm going to kill you or you're going to kill me. It didn't really mean that more often than not. It was really just a bluff for most pirates. But you know, useful. Then you've got your classic Jolly Roger, which is not the classic Jolly Roger. You know, close enough. You got your rainbow flag, which I'm going to be flying. And then my personal favorite, which is the Bilge Rat Adventurer's flag. If you ever see anyone in this game flying this flag, stay far away. Because they are deeply dedicated to the shenanigans and they will give you no quarter. But yeah, that's your default flags. Then you also get alliances. So you can't do them in Maiden Voyage. But you've got the option to raise a flag of alliance, and then anyone else who raises a flag of alliance near you, it starts a little alliance for you. And then everyone shares. Yeah, legally distinct and marketable Jolly Roger. Indeed. Calico Jack would be proud. Yeah, so you can get an alliance going. I think is with alliance mates, I believe it's you get 50% of whatever the other people in the alliance sell. And there's not really any downsides, other than like some of the rarer commendation treasure. You have to sell it yourself. So if it's sold in an alliance and you need it for a commendation, it's not going to count. But yeah, so that's mast fixed up, the correct flag set upon the mast. What does it want me to do here? I need a bucket. Why do I need a bucket? Oh, I better know why I need a bucket. Yep. That tracks. So when you get water in your boat, you use a bucket to get it out of the boat. So on the sloop, you can throw it off this way. This is nice because you can kind of get a view of your surroundings while you're bucketing. You can also do it this way, which is kind of cool. If you're feeling dangerous, then you can look at your windowsill here because it kind of throws it at an angle. You can look at the windowsill and throw it out the side window. And these also open and close, which is cool. Also, I don't know if they fixed it or not, but you used to be able. Let's see, if you stand on the ammo crate, it's very tricky. Yeah, you can climb onto the ladder from the inside. which is hard to do like in a rush. But it can be really handy to like someone bored and then you climb up on the ladder right behind them and get them from a different angle. Something you can only do on the sloop. But yeah, I was giving a tour and I got distracted again because my brain is broken. But yeah, so mast, bells are cool. This right here is sort of your main cabin of the boat. So you've got your ammunition. You've got your armory, which is locked right now. You can use this to change your weapons. You've got your map table, which has a handy dandy grids and shows you like your general surroundings when you're not just at an island. You can also zoom it in to get a better view of the island, which is really nice. You've got these things, which are trinket shelves. So as you earn like little trophies and things for doing stuff on the Sea of Thieves, you can decorate and make it look really pretty. And there's also other little hidden trinket spots all over the place. You've got a little bird cage here. If you've got a parrot, you can put the parrot in there or just let them roam, because why would you do that, you monster? You've got your voyage table. This is where you set and vote on voyages as a crew, because ultimately it is a democratic endeavor. And then also Battle for the Sea of Thieves is kind of the game's PvP mode. So you pick a side in this great battle for the Sea of Thieves between the Reaper's Bones and Athena's Fortune. It's like the green team and the red team. The good guys and the bad guys, but not really. And that's how you interact with that. I'll show you that a little bit later maybe if I don't run out of stream time first. Wouldn't the crew not be more like contractors? I guess so, yeah, because you can just kick them off at any point without compensation. Yeah, unfortunate political realities, economic realities of Sea of Thieves. You get a little bed, which is nice, and you can sleep in the bed. It's great for going AFK. Doesn't really do anything other than blind you. You've got your water barrel. This is used for putting out fires and yourself in a pinch. Then you got your little cooking spot where you can cook stuff, which is nice. You've got your tankard for refilling your grog, because you get like a standard issue little grog cup. And then you can refill it. You got your food barrels. So a couple of those. You've got, I usually keep my edible stuff up top. And then stuff that needs to be cooked, or like worms for fishing, I keep in the bottom. That's how I usually do it on sloops. You got your wood barrel. This is where you keep all your stuff for making repairs. And then all this stuff up here is like cosmetic stuff. So you got a little trunk for accessories. You got a little trunk for clothes. You got a little trunk for pets. All that kind of stuff. Equipment, I think, is this one actually. Equipment, and then this is clothes. But yeah, and then you got a grate, and you can theoretically like bilge and then throw it up through the grate, but I've never figured out the right spots for that, so I never use that method. But theoretically, you can use the grate to bail out your ship. Yeah, and then we've got that little rowboat that we saved earlier, just hanging out. Alrighty. I don't know if we're going to raise the anchor just yet. How's everybody feeling? Are you bored with watching me trying to find the key to this goofy hold on this pirate ship yet? Or would you rather me just continue? Are there any preferences? Also, I should drink some water. One second. Doesn't matter much to me. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I know the feeling. I'm okay with finding the key as long as we get more pirate history. I can do that. Yeah, I've been watching streamers a little bit off and on. I only recently found one that I liked, and kind of for the same reason you were talking about, Rose. Just listening to like someone talk about like what they're doing in the game, what's going on in their life, like what their thoughts are and things can be really nice. Especially with the interaction. Like I never really got the point of streaming until I started finding, I guess, people more on the wavelength that I enjoyed, which I guess is true of most things. I don't know. The folks whose like energy, level of energy perhaps, I don't know, seemed a little more familiar. Oh, let's see here. I don't know if that's what you meant by that, but that's kind of where I'm at, I think. It's like I watched enough people to finally be like, yeah, I can maybe try being that for someone. Yeah, that sounds nice. What games do you usually play? Anything in particular? Let's see. I'm going to continue going off of the water theory. A lot of TF2 and Minecraft usually. Nice. I haven't played TF2 in so long. Do you do modded Minecraft, or do you keep it vanilla? Sometimes Dead by Daylight and Dark and Darker. Let's see, how do I get back up there? Ladder. It's gotta be this one. We're in a modded server for a bit, but I am focusing on the vanilla one more again. Nice. I like vanilla Minecraft. I like modded Minecraft too, but like vanilla Minecraft is like really easy to just pick up and go. And especially if you're doing a lot more like talking and stuff, I imagine that is pretty helpful. Oh goodness. Maybe it's stuck behind a rock or something? Oh, there we go. It wasn't shiny. Why wasn't it shiny? Yeah, I thought it might have been like buried somewhere, like stuck in something. I was about to break out the shovel. Rose says I think I read that one already. Yeah. You mentioned Dead by Daylight. What's that like playing on stream? Is that a fun streaming game? Okay, now the door. Bingo. Ooh. I would say so, yes. A little stressful as killer, but Survivor can be really chill. Lots of downtime to talk while there is still moments of action and suspense and all that. That sounds pretty nice, actually. I really do like that rhythm of relaxing and then not panic, but you know, intense things going on. This is neat down here. It's got all the drippy water. This is like a bigger version of that map from before. Charted waters. La Isla Mosquitio. Mosquitio? Yeah, Mosquitio. It's pretty cool. I wonder if that's an actual island or not. Lower Bay. Okay. So it looks like whatever the spot is that they're entering from is probably the spot where we are. Because that would imply that that's the shroud and that this is the way through. That must be what's in front of us here. Robin says, I'm honestly more familiar with modded Minecraft at this point, to the point that I can mindlessly rush through early game, no problem. Yeah, modded Minecraft is good for teaching you how to do that. Interesting. Yeah, I got a seat. Ah, secret plan. If you're reading this, you've broken into my strong box, which makes you a worthy pirate indeed, worthy enough to hear my plan. Transforming this old stomping ground of mine into a safe haven for travelers has sparked something deep within my soul. It is the flame of an idea, a great tavern, far more magnificent than the usual pubs and alehouses, known only to truly legendary pirates. A den that sold only the finest plunder, where hardened adventurers and cunning sea dogs could meet to swap stories of gold and glory. Just lay it on thick, why don't you? If you make it to the Sea of Thieves, and should your heart desire a real challenge, heed my words. Seek Athena's fortune. I shall be waiting. Nice. Alright. Well, I will take your gold, fine sir. Gladly. 5,000. 15,000. Another 10,000, 25 grand. That's not too bad. It's a good start. Is this readable? No. Anything else I can pick up? Nothing. Da, 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 da. Might have a little bit of background noise going. Yeah, so that's the Magpie's hold. Let's check and see how we're doing on equipment. Reputation, tall tales. Okay, so we haven't gotten all the Pirate Lord's journals. We're 3 away from that. We haven't reached the Sea of Thieves, but other than that, we're doing pretty good. The question is, where could the other journal entries be? Noise filter seems to be handling it, no problem. Cool, excellent. That makes me happy. Yeah, I was surprised at how good Streamlabs' built-in noise filter is. I guess it's an OBS too. Maybe it's an OBS side thing. I'm not sure quite how that works, but it seems fairly effective. Let's see here. If I walk down this way. Owie. If I walk down this way. Anything here? Because I know we've checked inside the grotto. We've checked the camp at the top. We've gotten a couple in the boat now. I don't know. There's something. Lords of the Sea. Once long ago I was standing atop these cliffs and staring out to sea, quite lost in my own thoughts. Suddenly there was an almighty crashing sound. It was a kraken, and one of the largest I'd seen for quite some years. You've seen multiple krakens? I was so startled I couldn't help but take a leap backwards in surprise. Yeah, no kidding. Robin says, yeah, it's an OBS feature that Streamlabs copied with the rest of it. I see, okay. Once I picked myself up, battered and bloodied, I decided to install this ladder in case of any future visitors took a tumble on in the same way. Good, that's nice of you. Nowadays, thanks to that fool Merrick, krakens aren't the only sea monsters to watch out for. Megalodons are once more roaming freely beneath the waves. I've heard about this. So Merrick is kind of a recurring NPC in Sea of Thieves, both in the lore and also in the game. He used to be the dude running one of my favorite outposts, which was Golden Sands, I think it was called. And then because of some story things that happened in game, it ended up getting destroyed. And has now been replaced with a much less, well, more interesting, I guess, but like it's been replaced with a floating city, which is just kind of silly. It is a cool spot, I will give them that. But yeah, Merrick shows up quite a lot in Sea of Thieves, if I remember correctly. Also responsible for summoning the Krakens, which was another early game release event for the feature of adding Megalodons. Let's see here. They can prove quite the challenge even for experienced pirates. Why, I once battled a monstrous pale-skinned beast at... Well, I'll save that tale for another time. Uh-huh. Going all Captain Ahab on us over here. Yeah, so I think we're probably tapped out on journals for this side of the island. I will poke around the water one more time just to make sure there's nothing like sitting on the shores. I'm probably going to just make this the last pass for journals. And come back for them later if I'm missing any. Because they're cool and they're cute and they do a really good job of sort of setting the tone. But I feel like I've spent way longer here than I really intended to initially. Also, 6 viewers is way more than I expected to have. Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up. This has made it a very fun first ever stream. Lots of cool comments. I've learned cool stuff. Break has given me some really neat things to look up later. I can learn more things about pirates. Just so exciting. Let's see. I kind of feel like there should have been one in here. But there's not. Falling in and out of sleep. Well, you should. You're sick. Sleeping is how you get better. It's important. Okay. Nothing in the barrel. Nope, no books over here. Alright. Nothing in the bedroom. Anything out the back? That would be where I would hide it if it were me. Nope, no good. Oh, there's something. I've seen that one. They gave it a name, the Sea of Thieves. That's what they're calling it nowadays. The genie's out of the bottle, more pirates are finding their way there every day. I think we read this one. Some were looking to hide from their enemies, from their past, from the Grand Maritime Union. Yeah, we definitely read this one. It's only a matter of time before they reach this island, too. Maybe they're dreaming about all the Sea of Thieves has to offer, just as I was. Yep. So that's not a new one. Let me check the crow's nest. Can I check the crow's nest? Nope, there's not a crow's nest to check. Damn. But yeah, so this is actually a pretty good example. It's a little bigger than the ones that you run into, like in the proper... Actually, this might just be the same one. But in, no, it's definitely bigger. When you have the galleons in Sea of Thieves, they're the only 3-masted ships, like proper ships in the game. How much stream time left? I was looking to finish up in about 15 minutes. Maybe 30 minutes. I might stretch it a little bit. Maybe time to shove off. Yeah. That's a good point. I think I have spent enough time here in the doldrums of this island, searching for knowledge and fortune, having only found one of those things. I agree that it is time to shove off. I can come back and get the journals later. I did get a fish. To be honest, I would feel kind of bad about eating the fish. And a boat. Boat is pretty neat. I like the boat. Boat's good. Yeah. This should be interesting. That's an awful lot of wrecked boats out there. I'm not sure this is a great idea. Whatever. Okie dokie. Adjusting the sail. Wind is at our back. Yeah, I'll be fine. Bring me that horizon. I do have the Ghost Pirate Lord's blessing, apparently, although I'm really not convinced that he really knows as much as he seems to let on, or act like he knows. Oh.
With your ship fully restored, passage through the shroud now beckons. Take care on this dangerous last leg of your voyage. Threats of all shapes and sizes lurk in its murky fog. Keep the wind in your sails and an eye on that horizon, and I'm sure you'll have no trouble.
You see what I mean?
Once you make it through, I will be waiting for you. A world of adventure beckons.
A moderately small ocean of adventure beckons. Oh boy. I haven't done this in so long. Yes, probably the Pirate Lord. I think you're right, Robin. Oh boy. Oh, that was weird. Yeah, lightning is not supposed to be red. See, he didn't specify which horizon I was supposed to be keeping an eye on, is the problem. There's like at least 2 or 3 of them. I just assume... it's getting awful foggy. Gentle right turn here. A little bit to starboard. That's a big shark. No thank you. Where'd he go? Oh boy. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna start with Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 Pacific to noon, just to kind of get my feet wet. Yeah, fish are friends, not food. That's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, this fish may not share that particular sentiment. But yeah, so I'm thinking 10 to noon, Tuesdays and Thursdays, just to kind of dip my feet in and see if I enjoy it. Ugh. That's not good. Nope. Bad. This is what happens when you play this game solo. You're constantly running back and forth between the shooty bits and the steery bit. And this with vanilla steering wheel, I can never tell which one is supposed to be the middle. More of these, please. Fire bombs ahoy. Got him. Oh no. Let's not get involved in that. Oh snap. Oh my goodness. When you're delegating roles, are you the shooty or the steery? Generally the steery. I like the helm. I like doing helm things. But usually I'm playing this game on my own. Showcasing all the dangers you'll face all at once. Yeah, basically, they're front-loading all of it. Drake says, yeah. And then Robin says, ah, the scripted encounter with every flavor of bad beastie. Uh-huh. Like, it's a little ham-fisted, but it's also pretty cool as, like, a hype thing. I think we're doing okay. This is looking a little more familiar. Yeah. I think we made it, y'all. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with me today. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you had fun too. I am indeed astral projecting. We present Aravis running face first into an island. Yeah, I hope to see y'all again on Thursday. I'll be streaming from 10 to noonish. Yeah, slow down, look out! Change your course. Drop an anchor, I beg you. But yeah, I think next time what we're going to do is we're going to start messing around a little bit on the game proper. Probably going to join up with the Reaper's Bones, who's going to be my sort of faction of choice. Going to start saving up for our own captain ship, which we get to name, so I got to start thinking of a name. It did, Robin. It did change a little bit, or go a little bit to starboard. But yeah, I'll be looking for a ship name, saving for a ship, joining up with the Reaper's Bones, maybe pirating some people, definitely fighting some skeletons, digging up some treasure, all the usual Sea of Thieves things. It should be a lot of fun. I'm not gonna bother with the advertisements because it's just gonna end up in the menu anyway. So let me change it to just the ending scene here. But yeah, thanks very much for coming, everybody. Should be ready, or should be going at 10 o'clock Pacific. It's also got all of the stream times and stuff on my stream page. So if you haven't followed, I guess is what they call it here, feel free to do so if you feel so inclined. And hopefully we'll see you next time when we're playing Sea of Thieves. Oops, sorry.